So again, thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is David Fleck. I'm founder and one of the managing partners of Freeflow Ventures. We founded the firm in 2019 to focus on human health and planetary health, and focus on specific ecosystems like Caltech and now Berkeley. It's our distinct pleasure today to welcome Tim Wannier, founder and CEO of Wild Microbes. When we first learned about the company, it was just very interesting to really understand the critical role that microbes play in just everyday life. And Tim is on to some really interesting things. He worked at Caltech in the Mayo lab, Steve Mayo's lab, and also worked with Francis Arnold, the Nobel Prize winner in 2018 in chemistry. And then also after Caltech, went out east and worked with George Church at MIT. So he has some really good entrepreneurial mentors as part of his journey. So with that, we'll turn. And so actually just one reminder, as Tim goes along, we definitely encourage questions from the audience. Feel free to include those in the chat feature, and we'll get to as many of those as we can during the course of the upcoming hour. So again, thanks for everyone for joining, and Tim, thanks so much for carving time out of your busy schedule as well. So with that, Kevin and I will disappear and turn it over to you.
Of course, great. Happy to be here. I will go ahead and get some slides pulled up. Okay. So, yes, Tim Wannier. I'm a founder and CEO of Wild Microbes. We're a company based out in Boston, Massachusetts, founded in 2022. And my personal background is that I actually grew up in the Los Angeles area, and my family has pretty deep ties into the Caltech community. And I stayed close to home. As David mentioned, did my PhD at Caltech, and then moved out to Boston in 2016 to work with George Church, and have remained out here in Boston, which is a really nice place to be. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing at Wild Microbes, and I think I'll just start by introducing the reason that I'm compelled to work in this space and to build a company in this space. So there is fossil resources are used for two things primarily. These for energy and for materials, and so both have to be solved to break our addiction to the fossil resources. And so, and one of the best places to go for technology that has proven that it can scale and can produce materials without the need for like drilling oil or mining coal is biology, and specifically biomanufacturing, precision fermentation. There are a number of different terms that people use that people call the industry. But what it is as a concept is taking carbon feedstocks that are basic building blocks, composed, carbon atoms in the form of sugar, or in the form of single carbon molecules like methanol or acetate, or even carbon dioxide and hydrogen, and converting these simple carbon building blocks into chemicals that are needed throughout large industries, and they're put into consumer products and into personal care products, and they form the basis of many of the materials that we use and consume in our day-to-day lives. And so by producing chemicals and materials from renewable resources, we then allow ourselves to break the materials dependence on petrochemicals, and so the Biden administration had a goal to produce 30% of all chemicals sustainably by 2040, and that's a big goal, and it'll take a lot of new technology to get there. So the precision fermentation industry is one of the core industries that has shown that it can scale in this sector. So in terms of like green sustainable chemicals, there is only one solution that has been demonstrated, scaled up, and is currently operating. It's a few decades old industry. It's currently a $90 billion industry, growing at a pretty steady growth rate, but it has a long ways to grow to reach the size of the petrochemicals industry, which is about $6 trillion industry. There's a lot of active investment in new infrastructure within the precision fermentation industry. So in the center, you see here a list of all of the facilities that I could find where new steel have been put in the ground for fermentation infrastructure over the last 4 years, of investments of at least $150 million. And these are all to make a variety of different products that go into plastic alternatives, or fibers, or animal feed, or fuels. And BCG has an estimate that this industry likely will continue to grow at this pace and should reach about 200 billion by 2040. So it's great. So there's this call to action. We need new chemicals and materials, new ways to make them renewably and sustainably. There's a really great industry out there that exists and is scaling, and it's built on biology and biotechnology. And so, what's the problem then? So, the industry is large and growing, but the number of products it can make is limited, and so there have only been a certain number of successful scaled up demonstrations of being able to make a new molecule at the right unit economics that makes it competitive, like cost competitive with petrochemicals, and so the reason for this is that I founding Wild Microbes saw, and is our core thesis, is that one of the core reasons that more products haven't succeeded is that the choice of microbial strain, really controls and dictates the economics of industrial biomanufacturing. So there are only a few domesticated strains that we call these industrial microbes, and by choosing one of these strains to work with, that dictates so many decisions that people think are just intrinsic to the cost basis of biomanufacturing when they need not be. And so that the choice, the kind of a limited host range dictates that we use glucose as a feedstock, and a very clean form of glucose is expensive, and that dictates how we build a process and what the operating conditions are, which can be expensive to operate, and capex can be expensive, and it also dictates what the range of products are that can be made using this microbe's metabolism. So if you try to alter the base metabolism too much, the strain doesn't like it, and so you're limited in terms of like the scope of products that you can make as well. At Wild Microbes, what we're doing to change this cost equation is opening up the aperture and exploring the world of microbes that exist out there in the world, on this planet. So there's an abundance. There's estimated to be about 1 trillion different species of microbes. So instead of using 4 or 5, we think that we should be exploring and developing dozens, hundreds, thousands of new strains. This will open up opportunities to save on feedstock costs, to make more intelligent decisions with capex that where we use more robust, rugged microbes, and it allows us to make many different kinds of products that can't be made at the right unit economics today. I've introduced myself already. In Boston, one of the great things about the city of Boston is that it is really an epicenter of biotechnology. So there's an incredible talent pool to hire from. So I've been able to recruit really, really top tier scientists that are some of the best microbiologists in the world and have long experience, both in their PhDs and at industry, developing new technologies for fermentation, and developing new microbes and exploring new microbes. And David and Sabrina in particular pulled out of Ginkgo, which is a large company here in the Boston area that works as a platform, kind of like high throughput experimental development of strains. And then in addition to them, I have a number of really critical mentors. So George Church is my former advisor. Aditya Kunjapur is a professor at Delaware. He's now he was a former colleague of mine in the Church Lab, and he's a professor of chemical engineering now. And then Doug Cameron, who is the former CSO of Cargill, so somebody from the industry, and who's on a lot of boards like very important companies. So we've got a great team, and our technology comes out of is what differentiates us, really. So this comes out of my time as a postdoc with George, and I came to the Church Lab, originally having studied proteins and engineering proteins. I wanted to go engineer microbes, and the Church Lab was doing it was building some of the best capabilities for engineering microbes. And so I came and worked there for about 5-6 years, understanding a whole set of genetic editing capabilities in the lab. So doing a lot of fundamental research, and then encountering a challenge, which was the portability of the tools. So they were really, the recombination tools allow us to edit the genome anywhere we want, to write new bases, delete old bases, cut and paste different sequences, move them around. It's more flexible, more efficient than other tools such as CRISPR or native recombination. But it was hard to port these E. coli-based capabilities into other strains, and I was able to develop the technology to allow us to do that. And now we can, and to build out these advanced genetic editing toolkits in whatever other strain of bacteria that we wanted to work in. And so that's really the core that technology that differentiates us, and is the IP we're licensing out of Harvard. That it sits at it's like the first IP cornerstone of the company. So we think about the landscape of different molecules that we need to make if we're going to supplant petrochemicals, have more sustainably sourced materials produced. And so petrochemicals is a very diverse base from which we can make all kinds of different materials. And those include things like organic acids or surfactants, or dyes and coatings, fibers, polymers. And so so we are trying to build as a product. So like the product we make are strain cohorts developed to produce molecules across different categories. And so we're developing like cohorts of strains that are very good at making aldehydes, for instance, or making indoles or surfactants. And that's really the product, our product. And up here, I've highlighted two cases where very large multinational companies have put tens of millions of dollars of investment, maybe up to $100 million investment, to develop one new strain to make one new product. And it's taken this kind of degree of investment because traditionally searching and working with new microbes is quite slow, quite laborious. And these large companies aren't good at doing this, and they're not very efficient at doing this. So what we want to do is repeat these successes dozens of times over. We then monetize our product. So our product, again, is the strains that we develop, and we will have validated up to some pilot scale of readiness, say around 1,000 liters production volume. And we will monetize by charging for access to our solutions. And so the strains that we have built that are ready to make a new surfactant product, we will provide as a kind of full stack solution to a customer. And the customer in this case are the large operators in the fermentation space. And again, it's a $90 billion industry. There are dozens of multinational players that operate in fermentation, and all of them are very eager to continue to expand the production by fermentation of new product categories. And they're so what they really want to do is get access to more technologies that allow them to make more and more products and expand their business. Uh, they have strain engineering teams internally, but they're mostly focused on improving the strains that they already have working in house. And the way that they typically access new products is either by acquisition or by technology licensing. And so these companies that operate already globally in fermentation, these are our customers. And so we charge for access to the strains, and then we help to integrate our strains into their facilities, and that involves some additional further development to ready the strain for scale up in the customer's facility, and that work will also be compensated by the customer. So the biomanufacturing industry is, you can think of it maybe as sitting where the technology industry sat in the 1950s or 1960s, where it's a very promising new set of technologies. There is all kinds of new work and tools coming out of academia. There is and there's and the industry is starting to mature into a like a more mature form. And as part of that maturing, we see the development of a technology stack, where instead of every new company growing up vertically and having to integrate and onboard dozens of new expertises, there are companies that are building broadly to support many different companies and new products along the journey. So we see ourselves as sitting really at the base of this new developing technology stack, where we're developing new microbial solutions for the production of new product categories. And then on top of where we would hand over is really at the scale up. And so then there are different providers that provide experimental throughput as a service, or process engineering or downstream. And where we sit is again, we're developing new strains. You can think of us like the NVIDIA, where NVIDIA is making microchips, and then on top of their microchips, they have this walled programming interface. So an interface for developers to go and play, called CUDA. And for us, we're developing the microbes, which are like the microchips of biomanufacturing. And then we also provide that genetic programmatic interface with our strains through our technology. I'm very excited about having identified a couple pretty promising beachhead markets, and we could talk for much too long about these, but they are surfactants and indoles. They're really, really compelling spaces to be exploring for new biological solutions. Both large, multi-billion-dollar industries. Surfactants, very large industry, 50 billion. It's you need a portfolio of products to address all the needs in the surfactant space. And biology, microbes have evolved ways to make a whole portfolio of different biosurfactants that they natively secrete, and we've identified dozens of strains that make very interesting new surfactants. And we have customer interest in this space, a very compelling space. Indoles as well. They're tryptophan is used as an animal feed; it's amino acid. And then there are dye molecules. There are potentially active pharmaceutical ingredients there. Our first actual product that we've developed, we started about a year ago. It's called Violacine, and we've engineered about over 100x titer improvement to a native production strain. And so we identified strains out of the dirt and took them all through like domestication, tool building, engineering, fermenting at 10 liters. And that just we got great technology, great team, but the main thing that how quick that is, what that demonstrates is that if you find the right native strain to start from, your journey is going to be much faster and much more successful. We have a couple launch customers actively. So one since February, and that we started working on with a multinational food ingredients company. One we signed last month with a specialty chemicals company. So work just commencing on that project. We have a green light from a third, haven't signed, and then a very healthy funnel of customer traction after this. Again, these multinational companies, they're very eager for new products, very eager for new solutions. They want to expand their businesses, and and they think that, and I think we think we can help them do that. So our again, we're a pre-seed company. We raised about $4 million really early last year, so early in 2023. We've this year expecting to take about $400,000 in revenue, and we have a healthy pipeline. And our first customer is recommitting for next year for the project to expand it, and then we have a number of other customers that are close with us, and so we think that there's a very likely path to at least doubling our revenue every year from here on out with project revenues. And then we see in about 3 to 5 years, we start to see the real recurring revenue hit, where strains that we have developed have been scaled up. They're producing product. That product's in the market to end customers, and so our strains are really starting to make a difference and producing at scale. And then we start to receive recurring revenues for access to our solutions and technology. And so we think that the real revenue ramp will start in about 3 to 4 years from now. And and so again, we raised the pre-seed early last year. At this point, we're in the realm of trying to look at a seed round of funding. Yeah, just thank you everyone for the letting me talk to you about the world of microbes and biomanufacturing. And it's I've really loved working with David and Kevin at Freeflow. They're a couple really great guys, and it's a great firm to be partnered with on the journey. And if anybody has any questions or wants to get in touch about anything at all, feel free to reach out. I'm sure they could put you in touch, or I'm Tim at Wild Microbes.